Hello and welcome to Canadian Footy Fan Channel. I am your host, Chris Talks Footy, and today I'm presenting you Canadian Footy Assembly, episode number 3, World Cup Fever. But I'm not doing it alone. I'm joined by some excellent guests tonight. Let me welcome them in. How are we doing today, gentlemen? We have Paul, Juan, and Robbie joining us this, early evening, I'll say that. How are we all doing today?
Doing
Great.
good.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, not bad.
Twilight podcast. Let's go.
Thank you for joining me this evening. All of their links, social links, are in the description below. Everybody's Twitter, as well as Juan's Twitch. I know Juan was streaming some FIFA last night. He was giving some L's. He was taking some L's. We all know what that FIFA grind is like.
Definitely taken.
Yeah, man, that's the problem when you work up the divisions. It gets tough.
Yeah.
But we have some topics for today. We are going to be discussing World Cup overview. So our World Cup fever. We're going to be reviewing the Canada versus Belgium game, as well as previewing the Canada versus Croatia game. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, and give your thoughts, opinion, and feedback in the comment section below. Let's kick this off, gentlemen. So first off, we're going to discuss our World Cup fever. And to start us off, Robbie is going to give us a bit of a rundown of how the World Cup has gone so far. So Robbie, do you want to go ahead and provide that for us? Oh, Robbie, you're on mute for some reason.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
There we go.
There we
Awesome.
go.
That's great. No, we're about halfway through the second round of games in the World Cup, and we're starting to get a sense of how some groups are shaping up. In Group A, the Netherlands and Ecuador look strong. They're spot 1 and 2. They're leading that group, tied on points. They had a great match the other day. Enter Valencia is having such a great World Cup. It was really sad to see him go out there. Group B, we got England on top there with 4 points, followed by Iran. The U.S. has picked up a couple points, so they're still alive. They're one of my dark horses, so that'll be interesting. Group C, topped by Poland. We saw some games from Group C today. Argentina, wow, what a game. It had to be messy. If you didn't watch it, folks, Mexico really bulldogged them on the pitch, and it took some moments of magic. So that was special to see. And then Australia making some noise today, getting a bit of flavor of success here in this World Cup. France proving yet again that they are a force, and Denmark, who I have going far, doesn't look so good right now. So we'll see what happens there. Group E headed by Spain and Japan. Japan, not so surprisingly, doing well so far, poised to do more. We'll see what happens there. Germany with a lot of talent in third in Group E. Let's see what happens there. Costa Rica all but eliminated at this point. And then the group that we're all paying attention to is Canadians, topped by Belgium, followed by Croatia, then Morocco, and the lowly Canada with 0 points. But we have a moral victory, right, folks? Let's hope there's more than that coming soon. Of course, Brazil and Switzerland at the top of Group G. And Group H headed by Portugal and South Korea. South Korea just in second on goal differential over Uruguay. Still lots to be decided, lots to talk about. Let's go, boys.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, Chris, you're muted too.
Oh my goodness, mute malfunctions. Everybody's muting. So Juan, I'm going to come to you first. Who has impressed you, either team or player, so far in the World Cup?
I gotta do a shout out to Saudi Arabia. I think that they've impressed me the most because it was not only the upset against Argentina, it's the way they did it. The way they had their high line, the way they're moving the ball, and it's so fluid and quick. Today, they made a lot of individual errors, which of course will happen because they are by far the less talented team. But honestly, for me, they've been very impressive and outstanding. And they have an excellent coach. He had coached several of the African teams before. It's Havre Renard, if I'm not mistaken.
You're Renee.
Yeah. And by far, he impressed us the most. He showed that the team is solid, right? They know what their responsibilities are, and they've been fantastic. My second shout out, of course, is what Robbie said earlier about Ecuador. I don't think anybody expected them to be second. They've been like Saudi Arabia. They've been collectively correct. They've been finding each other well, and they are a very physical team, which I think a lot of the teams are not prepared for. And this is a World Cup where a lot of the Asian and CONMEBOL teams are going to start stepping up.
Okay. How about you, Paul?
France. And the reason why I say France is I thought France would have let us down. You know, they have all these stars. They've had a few injuries as well, you know, primarily in the midfield. And so I just thought, you know, with Griezmann now playing the 10, I didn't know how well he would function in that role. Mbappe, you know, wanted to be the star leading. I didn't know how Giroud was going to do, you know, older Giroud, how well he was going to actually do in the attacking. But they've looked good. They've looked solid. They have looked like they're on a mission. Their pace has been incredible. Mbappe, as much as I hate to say this, he's been one of the best. And I'm not going to say the best. I'm still not going to give him that, but at least one of the best players in the World Cup so far. But the team has still looked like they haven't missed a beat. So they have really impressed me. And I mean, yes, they won the World Cup the last time, but I thought they would have a drop off, and it doesn't seem like they've had that drop off. So really impressed with how well they've been playing from back to front.
Yeah, I agree there with France. I think they're impressive because many people started writing them off with the injuries.
Right.
I think they were a favorite, and then they've had Kante out, Pogba out, Benzema out. Now Lucas Hernandez out.
Right.
But they
Lukaku out too as well. Yeah, they had a few injuries.
They're deep, and like Camavinga doesn't even start for them, even though they're missing Kante, and that just shows how deep they are, right? Like it's to me, I wasn't worried. I still had them, in my opinion, I had them going to the final even after all the injuries. I like when Benzema went out, I was like, well, you know what? They're gonna probably play better because Giroud and France, I don't like. Even if he doesn't score, he's amazing for them.
He's a threat.
How about you, Robbie? Who's really impressed you so far?
I mean, I actually agree with Paul and Juan. But I mean, to be honest, and this is an objective take, I think Canada's impressed. I think they play some really good. It's been one game, and they can come out and throw out a stinker. You know, the next game could be a lemon, but they played great football. They were on the front foot. They controlled a lot of the match. The only thing about their play is their decisiveness in the final third and that finishing. But Canada's been really impressive, and in a lot of the a lot of the stuff I've been reading, it's not just me. It's not just Canadians. There seems to be, you know, some eyes on this Canadian team. And I don't think it's a fluke. I think a lot of the CONCACAF teams and CONMEBOL teams are, after many years of you know, efforts by those you know, federations, are starting to show that they can play, and a lot of those players are playing in the top tier leagues too. So I think my shout outs to Canada. They've been good, and I'm excited. A little nervous. Croatia's tough, and Herdman doesn't look so good half naked, but
I love it though.
It's so good. I love that. Yeah, we're on the world stage, right? So it's great. So my shout outs to Canada, and my other one would have been Ecuador. Just because I did not expect that from them, and the Ender Valencia, like, it's like he's, you know, sort of like he's some sort of Egyptian god who just, like, you know, just never like, what happened and where did it come from? So, but he did hurt his knee, right? So I don't know, like, that's going to be a big loss, because I thought they'd make it out of the group, and everything revolves around him right now. So that's an interesting one to look at.
They still might, but I don't like when it comes to round of 16, it might be peak for them.
Yeah,
because he is carrying them right now with the goal scoring. At least I think they said he scored 6 consecutive goals in World Cups for them. So that's the 3 this World Cup, and then 3 in the previous World Cup, which was. Did they make the last one? Did they make 2018 World Cup? I can't remember. No, they did. No,
Did they?
I think
No,
they
I
did.
can't
Didn't they go
remember.
on
I
a
think they
deep
did.
run? Didn't they go on a deep run?
No, that was Costa Rica, wasn't it? Or was that
Yeah.
2014?
I think it was in 2018. I think
2018 it might have been them.
I think they went on. No, maybe it was 2014, and they missed 2018. But they went on that deep run, he was also doing the same thing he's doing now. He was putting them on his back. For me, a team that impressed, I think Switzerland. I think they're a team that has to be respected, and nobody was really talking about them before the World Cup. I like the team that they have. I like the way that they play. I think they're somebody who we're going to have, like, going forward, we're going to have to show some respect to. Maybe they can be like somebody like a Belgium or like a Turkey or something. Well, Turkey, they bombed out of the Euro, but like there was a lot of people hyping them up, and nobody was talking about Switzerland beforehand. And I think they're a decent side. My number one was France, but Paul stole my thunder there. But as host, I go last, so I gotta deal with the scraps. But I did have Switzerland as a backup option, and I think even if they don't necessarily go too far in this World Cup, I think going forward we're gonna have to put some respect on their name, and maybe in the Euros in 2024 they can do something. Let's move on to teams or players that have looked unimpressive. I guess there was mine I can no longer talk about because they did win today. And a certain somebody did show up today. But we'll go to you first, Paul. Who has been unimpressive for you?
I'm gonna stick at CONCACAF, and I know we spoke about them before the start of the show, and it's Mexico. Just this World Cup qualifier and leading to the World Cup, I thought, okay, the World Cup qualifier, maybe they were coasting, maybe they'll get their act together. I know they've had some injuries. Jimenez is injured, but they don't seem like the country that's been, just putting out players and continue that. It seems like this is the cycle where they're just, aging. And even with their age, you would think, okay, you know what? With years of experience, they'll be able to. And Tata Martino he's been trying so many different things, trying to really experiment. And I don't think they have an identity. So for me, Mexico kind of really let me down because before they would have an identity, even if they didn't necessarily score, it wouldn't be easy to score on them. You know who they are. I don't know who Mexico is, and I think for me, they're the biggest letdown because I thought at least I would see some level of consistency. Yeah, they drew against Poland, but it was Poland's first game, and I figured that would happen. Today, I thought they would put up more of a fight. Maybe it would be 1-0 or even a draw, and they didn't look. They were falling hard. Like that seemed, to be honest with you, back to Robbie, I would think Canada would be the team that would be doing that. We'll be fouling hard and, trying to take out play. I saw them today trying to do that. I'm like, that's not your brand of football.
They were bullies out there. Honestly, I was watching the game and I was like, is this a CONCACAF? Like, it felt like a CONCACAF versus CONCACAF match where it's like the ref's just going to let a bunch of crap go and there's going to be some weird goal that's going to go off the back of someone's head, or there's going to be a handball that isn't called or something, because Mexico, they were CONCACAFing them. That's what they were doing.
They copied like the Honduras's game plan when you play in Honduras, and they were like, copy paste that tactic, and we're gonna apply that today against Argentina, which was interesting.
So weird.
Like, I think it's worth talking about Mexico for a bit, though, because
we can.
This is like one of the least talented Mexico sides I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Right.
I look at this team and I'm like, I'm looking for something because they always show up, right? There's always a ton of talent, but I don't know what Martino has put together. I don't see the X factor.
Yeah.
I keep looking for it, and I don't even. Is it a disappointment? But you want to say it be based on like their historical record. Mm-hmm. But the truth is, what do you really expect from them? They didn't show well in qualifying.
Mm-hmm. I'll be honest, I expected this. I didn't have them proceeding out of the group. As we were discussing before the stream started, a lot of Mexico's problem is with how Liga MX is not allowing youngsters to leave. They're holding on to their youngsters, and we all got to admit the best place to develop is in Europe for the most part, especially if a big team comes after you. Like Edson Alvarez, for example, there's a reason why, in my opinion, he is Mexico's best player, in my opinion. And that's because he's been playing for Ajax and being able to develop there. But that's something that Mexico, they're going to have problems once this, and they're still relying on like the likes of Guardado, who's the guy that plays for LA Galaxy now?
Vela?
No, the
Oh my
midfielder.
gosh, name just slipped me. Yeah, shoot. I'm seeing him. His name just slipped me now. But yeah,
they're relying on these older veterans. Like they were trying to bring they would try to get Vela out of retirement, like, and
They're bringing back. They're trying to bring Chicha.
and then Chicharito they were like flirting with, and then the problem is like they're not able to move on because they're not developing the young talent. And then
but
even, go ahead.
Sorry. No.
And then even
No,
like
sorry.
they're having to like the one of their I got to bring up the Mexican squad, but like one of their backup strikers isn't even like Mexican. He's Argentinian, and because he had been playing in Liga MX for so long, he became Mexican just through playing in Liga MX for so long. Like they're really having a problem developing talent, and like I said, I think it's because they're not letting their talent leave. They're holding on to it. As we discussed earlier, maybe Liga MX is fearful of MLS's growth, so they want to keep their talent to make sure that their league is better because MLS lets their young talent leave, right? And then maybe that's a way that they can differentiate themselves and stay on top of CONCACAF, but it's going to hurt the national team because they only want to move players on when they're 25, 26. These players have missed out on development. But go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I was even going to say, just the one thing I was going to actually add to is that even them fighting for Flores, right? Like before, Mexico would have to fight. Like it was a big, huge thing. And usually I was just surprised. I'm like, okay, we've arrived. If you're truly fighting us for Flores
now shouldn't be good enough for Mexico. And the fact that they were fighting for him says everything, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, honestly, right now it seems like Mexico needs a clean house right now. They're trying to compete with the old historical context, or they're saying, "Oh, we're still Mexico. We know we're the best team in CONCACAF." But as you see by this World Cup, every team is improving except for Costa Rica. But a lot of CONCACAF is definitely improving in the developing players, and right now it seems like La Liga they're trying to merge with the MLS because they know if they can't beat them, might as well join them, and they're trying to create more fan interest by bringing by trying to keep the players that are going to be household names, and that's then definitely going to stunt the development of the players.
Right.
So it seems a little bit selfish from them, and man, very disappointing by them.
The player I was thinking of does not play for LA Galaxy, plays for Houston. It's Hector Herrera. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah. And then the striker is Funes Mori. He was Argentinian, I believe.
That's right.
Yes, Argentinian. But the only reason he's Mexican is because he's played in Liga MX for so long. And that's not something you ever thought about with Mexico, right? Like normally they had so much talent. The talent was in Europe, in South America, but now I don't know. Like we said, they're holding on to their talent, and they don't want to let it go. And it seems like they're worried about other things rather than development.
Right.
But yeah, like I said, Flores in past would not even get a look at. Because he's not even playing in the first team, right? He's playing in like the U21s, like that's something Canada does, but not Mexico. But I guess it shows how maybe they've come down a little bit. We've come desperate. Up. Yeah, they need talent. Juan, is there another team that has or player that's disappointed you?
I've written down Germany. I think that one's like the top one. It's I don't want to bring politics, but it seems like it's something that's brought up to the World Cup, and it's fantastic that they brought the they were banned for bringing the armband. So like, okay, if you're gonna trying to keep us quiet, we're gonna do a gesture before kickoff, and it seemed fantastic and everything, right? Because like countries should be able to express themselves without consequence. But then when you create a performance like that, people are going to create that as an excuse. They're like, oh, you should be sticking to football. And it's very disappointing because the team looked like they're lacking cohesion. A lot of their strikers weren't linking up to their midfields. Kai Havertz were making runs out of nowhere, not linking up anybody. And they were facing a Japan team, which is they're fantastically organized well. But now they're facing Spain, and Spain is one of the strongest teams in the tournament.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very difficult for them to come out of the group, and now it's going to be questions off the field now as well. They're going to be like, are they going to do another gesture again now? And if they lose, it shows they're going to say, oh, they've been lackluster and they haven't been focusing on the football. That's why they lost, right? So now it's a lot of pressure off the field and now on the field.
Yeah. I think that leaves just me. The team, I think that has been a little bit disappointing. And I don't want to go too much into them because we're going to touch on them in more depth next. And even though they won, is Belgium. I will be honest. I was not expecting, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but I wasn't expecting that level of performance from them at all against Canada, especially that first half. It was really, really poor. They don't look good right now. And I think what it's shown is that their golden generation is in the twilight and they don't have much coming up. They're still relying on Eden Hazard. And Eden Hazard in his day was an amazing player, but for the last, ever since he's gone to Real Madrid, it's not been good. And they're really reliant on Kevin De Bruyne. And if he's not able to do anything, even if Lukaku was playing, like even Lukaku is reliant on service. He's not somebody who can create on his own. They really reliant on Kevin De Bruyne to run, and their back line, it's not looking good for Belgium going forward. I think whatever they're able to do in this World Cup, they got to enjoy it, because moving forward, the Euros in 2024 and then in 2026 the World Cup, like they may not even qualify. I wouldn't be shocked. Like I think they're in trouble. But I've really disappointed that, and they're still relying on these older players, and there's nothing else. Like you would think with Lukaku injured, they would have somebody, and yes, Batshuayi did score, but Batshuayi is what he is, right? And you would think Belgium, second-ranked team in the world, would have more to them than what they showed.
Yeah, even De Bruyne admitted that the squad is old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If I could add something quickly, Juan said, sorry. I think it's the same. I think we're probably overlooking. I think it's the same thing with Germany. They might not be old, but they haven't necessarily been playing well. You brought up Havertz. He hasn't been doing well. I mean, Chelsea's my team. He hasn't been doing well for Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think maybe not the hand gesture, so it might not even be from that stance, but I think there might be other political things, and not from a political as a hand gesture or those things, but it could be even from picking the side. I don't think they're a cohesive unit, and I think that's what's lacking for Germany from that aspect. They don't play. I don't see them playing as a team. I see them playing as individuals, and I think that's something that really has hampered and hindered Germany.
I wonder if Germany's problem is how the Bundesliga, how teams in the Bundesliga play for the most part, with regards to high press, high lines, high energy, and it translating at the World Cup. I feel like they fall into the trap of how certain teams play in their own league, and that's not necessarily what you're going to find at the World Cup. Not everybody's going to be playing high lines where you can just knock the ball in behind and run onto it. And then also development-wise, they don't have the players of the yesteryear anymore. Like, for example, they don't have a closer who is going to bag your goals. They don't have that anymore. yes, they've got excellent players, but it's not like it's not a complete team of German. It's not like a France, right? France, they're stacked in every position and they got depth. With regards to Germany, they got some good players here, some good players there, but in some positions they have like no depth whatsoever. And then in other positions, they've just got average Bundesliga players playing for them. So,
yeah, even with Hansi Flick right now, I know before he left Bayern, a lot of the Bayern fans are complaining about the way he ran the club. And, he is a high pressing guy. And for you to do that internationally, it's very difficult to do because it's sort of something you need to train months on end. And for you to do that at the international level, you need everybody to be on the same page. And that's problem number one for them.
Yeah.
You know, another team with an embarrassment of riches, and this is more of like, I don't know what Gareth Southgate's doing. Like, I don't know. Like, if I had to do player selection for that squad, I mean, England's in the easiest group. They're pretty safe. I think they're almost guaranteed. It's short of like a huge upset, they're guaranteed to make it through. But I mean, okay, I tweeted this out, but and I'm just asking for a friend. Has anyone seen Phil Foden? Anybody? Is anybody?
No.
Like, why is
One of the
he not
top players
playing?
for Man City. Like, to me, that's insane.
The best team in the world. Yeah, right?
It's insane.
It's
And he
insane
was
to me.
I think something's happened. He was a bait. Like Foden was playing for Southgate regularly on the wing, which I don't think is his best position. But regardless, but he was still playing. Now he's not.
It's odd to me. And then like another snippet for me is watching Croatia, who I think was, if I had to, I watched the game because I'm interested in Canada, focused on the group Canada's in. That's probably the worst game I watched the whole World Cup. So like the Germany, I want, like, we're talking about Germany. I want to see Germany. I want to see something from them because right now if you're talking about what to expect, disappointed. Croatia has a lot to prove after the first performance, and like let's and we'll get to this later because I know we're going to shift into Belgium talk, but there's a huge missed opportunity by Canada. That was a massive disappointment. Like, enough with the positive attitude and this and that. That could be the game that decides whether Canada gets to move on out of the group, and it's gone. And it's completely gone. And we can only talk about this because we're lucky enough to have a team that's played really well as a Canadian. But it's like Croatia, Germany, Canada, and to some extent, Argentina until today. But this is what I love. And if I can just say this about Argentina, the way Argentina is sort of building right now, this is like how those big World Cup runs start. Now, a lot of people have had Argentina, and I could totally be wrong, but you got a team that gets surprised by a Saudi Arabia squad, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, that played really, really well. Basically wrote the blueprint for how to play Argentina. Mexico tried to duplicate it, couldn't. But you can see the team galvanizing around that initial, like downfall, and I could see that turning into the motivation that says, all right, we're going to get Messi some silverware here. I don't know if it happens, but
I think we need to see how they play against Poland first. I don't rate this Mexican team right now.
No,
I like I said, I didn't have them coming out of the group. Let's see how they play against Poland. But even Poland, I find they're so hit and miss too.
It's interesting because, like what Robbie said with Argentina, if you guys remember from the 2014 World Cup, France didn't have a good start. They lost to Switzerland in their first game, and then everybody was starting to wonder and thinking, can this group win? Can Deschamps make sure? Yeah, and then they rallied on through. Right, I don't think they scored a single goal in the group stage at all, and they somehow got through.
Yeah, it's very rare that a team dominates from start to finish at the World Cup. You usually need like a couple of moments that brings the team together, or some moment of chance. Like it's that kind of tournament. When we were doing the preview to the World Cup, we were talking about intangibles. These are the things that happen. All the squads there are good. Like, at any point, if Canada decides to, I don't know, just ball for a moment, they can go on like a 6-game winning streak. You never know.
Yeah.
Right. Not that they will, but there's going to be something you're going to have to. And the best time to experience is the group stage, especially if you're not that great of a squad. where you can sort of fight back from something and then use that as motivation to rise. And I feel like Argentina had that. And that looks good for my bracket. So
yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I had Argentina lined up to talk as my unimpressed. But obviously after today, I can't do that. England, I would agree. Like, I think was their opening game an enigma? Like, because like we know England, like yes, they scored 6 goals, but like I don't know, under Southgate. Like this is what I expect, and I don't even know if I can classify. Well, it is unimpressive, but because it's Southgate, yes, he's got into a semi-final. Yes, he's got into a final. Like we've got to respect that, and I understand that pragmatic football in tournaments style works, and it is effective. But it's just like they've got so much attacking talent, and their defense, especially with some of the injuries that they've had. With regards to Reece James, Maguire, they got Maguire starting. Like I know Maguire plays well for England, but he
does play really well for England.
But I think he plays well because
of
England. But I think that's because of how Southgate plays, right? Yeah. It's very pragmatic. It's very defensive. We know Harry Maguire struggles when he's exposed 1-on-1 or he's exposed in a high line. England doesn't do that, so maybe that's why they do play pragmatic football, because of their defense. But in my opinion, they've got so much attacking talent. Like, no offense, Paul, but Mount should not be playing for England. Foden should
I totally agree. No, I agree.
Foden should be playing the 10, 100%, or Jack Grealish should be playing the 10.
But to be fair, though, Mount had a terrific game 1, and I think they had to ride the hot hand there for him to go for the second game.
Yeah, I know, but it was Iran, right? Like I like, all respect to Iran, it was Iran. Like I don't know like how, but yes, you are right. I guess you ride the hot hand, but like should he even have been the person starting in that game? To be honest,
no.
But I think England, if England could go far, they could. They'll get out the group. I'm fairly certain of that. But when it comes to the knockout, anything's possible, because who knows? It's not like you can say, oh, they're gonna start smashing the goals in. Harry Kane hasn't even scored yet. Oh, has Harry Kane scored?
No,
I don't think
no. Remember, he's playing that. They don't even have a midfield. They don't have a proper midfield.
I don't think Harry Kane will ever score at a World Cup. Again.
Well, but it's he ends up being like.
He does that link-up play.
Yeah, he does the link-up play, but it should be like he should be the one in the box, and they should be creating, and it's like he's the creator, he's the everything, and then he's just got to hope somebody else is. I don't know. England is going to be interesting. I look forward to who's their last game against Wales. That's going to be Wales will be up for that game 100%, right?
Pride.
Yeah, I could see a draw, and then that would leave England on 5 points. They'll go through because of their goal difference for sure.
Yeah.
I think even if they lose, it's kind of difficult for them to not make it through. But yeah,
they're one of the safer teams for sure.
Yeah,
for
sure.
Yeah, it's because of their group, to be honest. I know I was secretly hoping for somehow Iran and Wales to make it out of that group, but obviously I knew it wasn't going to be possible. Just for the meltdown on both ends of the pond, it would have been hilarious. But yeah, I was kind of also rooting for I kind of wanted America to win, just because then I could be like, oh, the sport's called soccer now. It's no longer called football. But yeah, I think those are the teams that have really impressed and unimpressed us. I can't think of any others, so I think we should move on to the next topic. Let's slide into it. So our next topic is a little bit of a more in-depth review of Canada versus Belgium. This is why I didn't want to go too in-depth with regards to Belgium. I'm going to come to the game started, and Canada was awarded a penalty early on in the game, in the 8th minute, I believe it was. Unfortunately, it was given by VAR. Unfortunately, it was not unfortunate. Well, let me say how it happened. Tajon Buchanan took a shot, fairly clear handball. Yes, the player was nearby. Yes, the shot came at him quickly, but his arm was outstretched. You can't be doing that. And then Alphonso Davies, he missed the penalty. Well, he didn't miss it. It was saved. It was a rather poor penalty. And then Canada had some shouts for some other penalties. So I'm going to come to you, Paul. Give me your reaction to Alphonso Davies not converting his penalty, and give me your thoughts on all the other penalty claims that Canada had.
Yeah, this was a big debate afterwards. Like on Twitter, it was a hot debate, and people like back and forth over defending Fonzie. And I think two could be the same. You could defend Fonzie to say no one's saying he's a bad player, but for me personally, he shouldn't have been taking the penalty. Now I understand he's the face of Canada soccer, Canada football, Canada soccer. I understand all that, but I felt like it should have been Jonathan David to actually take it. Because interestingly enough, I think a lot of people overlooked it. There was an actual interview where he's like, yeah, I would hope to be the first person to actually, score the first goal for Canada. So I felt like I get it at that moment, but it was a couple of things that I think people overlooked. Number one, somebody was actually saying he just came back from injury. So do you want somebody just coming back from injury to kick a penalty? I mean, people might be like, well, he was playing, but usually penalties, you want to smash it in the corner. So I feel like even if he did smash it, I don't know if Courtois would have been able to get it, right? It could have been a possibility he didn't, but as much as it was close to him, he also didn't hit it hard. So it was much easy for Courtois to actually save that penalty. Couple things, though, which I think Kurt Gomez mentioned it, was that it was Frank Leboeuf on ESPN mentioned the amount of time it actually took, not the VAR, but the amount of time that the ref took to actually tell people to move their toes. Like it was that ref, it was really interesting because I'm just like, dude, just let them kick the penalty. I don't know if you guys have, I'm guessing you have played. So I know for me, when taking a penalty, I want to take it right away. I hate waiting. When you start to wait, then you start to replay more. Okay, you know what? Okay, especially knowing that he's a tall dude. His wingspan is crazy. So now I'm overthinking, okay, should I go here? Well, what if he does this? Should I go there? Like he had the right idea to go low, because usually when you have tall keepers, you want to make sure you go low. You don't want to go high. We know he's amazing in the air, and that's usually happens with tall goalkeepers.
It's a longer route to the ball, right?
Right. Yeah. So on the ground was the right idea, but I think for Fonzie, he was overthinking it way too much.
It's poor placement too, right?
And even poor placement. Even if you look how he kicked it, he didn't kick it with the way that he would normally. It kind of didn't really go in the middle where you would more get force. It kind of came out the edge. So even all that, and Courtois, I'll be honest with you, he saved it really well, because as much as he saved it, it didn't come back directly. And the other thing is, I don't know if people watch it, but I think it was Hoylett that actually came in. And I feel like if Davies had let Hoylett actually run after it, Hoylett would have probably got a shot on the ball. So if you notice, if you go back and watch it, Fonzie tried, which is natural, right? Your reflex. So he naturally went over to his left to get the ball, but Hoylett was actually running in. So I feel like if he had let him run in, I think Hoylett would have had a better chance, a more opportunity to kick it on goal. But yeah, I think it should have been Jonathan David. Now people argue, you know what, Herdman has allowed them on the field to take it. I feel like it was, I don't know, as much as it's a brotherhood, I will be honest. I think me personally, I would have felt a bit of a way if, okay, I know there's certain people in their mind, they want to take the penalty. Yes, we're a brotherhood. We're going to allow Fonzie to take the penalty, yada, yada. But him missing, as a human, there must be an element like, oh man, I should have taken that penalty. You know what I mean?
I don't think so. So I was having I've been back and forth on this like a few times. I was having a conversation with a friend, and up to that point in the game, right? If you think, if you can remember, Davies had a ton of touches on the ball. He was heavily involved up to that point. If you look at David over the course of the whole game with Belgium, he didn't get a ton of touches, especially in like the first 15 minutes. And I think, maybe, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Right.
Maybe it was more about, what, they came together, because I remember looking at the play. Davies and David came together, and it didn't take very long. Davies was taking the penalty, and I don't think David or Davies lacked any confidence. I think just at that point in the game, with David not having many touches on the ball, do you really want to go up to the spot and take a shot when you haven't really had the ball at your feet? I don't know how many touches he had at that point, but I can recall not many. And with Davies being so involved, being the sort of like the flag bearer of the squad, I don't think it's the worst choice. But overall, it's just, say you had to like stack up, 100 PKs over, however long it takes to get 100 PKs, I think you're going to want to pick David, more often than not, because he takes them more often. He's far more clinical than Davies in front of goal. They rely on a different set of skills, and I think David's skills are more aligned with putting the ball in the back of the net from the spot. So, but I think in that moment, it had a little bit to do with David not having been as involved in the play, because it was quite early. What was it, like the 11th minute?
It was the 8th minute.
8
minute, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and him playing a one strike, I could see why he wouldn't get the ball. But I mean, I understand too. But I think even with I think also too, whoever probably would have gone up to take it, I think there was a lot of nerves, right? The weight of the shoulder. Canada hasn't scored. I feel like maybe if they had scored in 86, then maybe that weight. But the headlines were Canada hasn't scored as yet. You know what I mean? Now you have an opportunity to go ahead. I feel like all that was racing, and they're a young team, so definitely, we won't beat a dead horse. We know, unfortunately, he didn't kick a good shot, and there we are. But there was 2 other penalties, I personally think. So this was debated across, and I feel like this is one thing I do respect. And also maybe that might sound ambiguous, that I don't respect, that the officials all come together, and no matter what it is, they'll come with one decision. So you won't hear a ref say offline, like, something like other sports, NBA, there might be one ref that might be like, well, no, I don't totally agree. Across the board, they're going to agree, even if it doesn't make sense. So I think the second one was where, number one, they said Tajon Hazard kicked it back to the goalie.
Yeah.
Like, it was blatant.
Well, he didn't kick it. He kicked it right to Tajon.
Yeah, he passed it back. No, he was passing back, and he passed it to Tajon. Tajon gets the ball. Was it Telemans? Was it? I'm trying to remember.
I can't remember.
Yeah. Kicked him, stepped on him, but number one, they called it offside. So at first they were like, oh no, it's offside, that we're not even going to look at penalty. Afterwards now, I think they realized, because Frank LeBeouf was also saying, I think they realized, hey, you know what, we made a mistake, so we need to come with a common ground so there's no controversy. So what did it say? Oh, he got most of the ball, and then afterwards he got his foot. So that's not a penalty. And I can guarantee you, if that was in midfield, that would have been a foul.
And you're right. And I have an issue with this, with officiating at all levels. There is no way that any official knows what a player is thinking at any point in time. And I dislike and I disagree with when they use the argument that, oh, he leaned into the player because he wanted to do this or he wanted to do that. You don't know if there's contact. You have to call based on contact, and you have to assume that every player out there, no matter what the play is, especially at the highest levels, of course you're looking for a foul. But if you're playing positively and you're playing with the ball and you're trying to make some sort of effort to go at the net or towards goal, I think you have to start giving these forward, because everything's happening at such a high pace, and having performed at high levels, I know that you can do little things in the small moments to get things to happen in your favor. But at the end of the day, I mean, we're talking about like cleats on cleat to the back of the ankle, cleats on a boot, like that's a foot stomp. And you're right, that is like dead ball, play down, let's stop the play and deal with this. But because it's in the box, and maybe because it's Belgium, I don't know. I mean, they did give.
I think it was, Robbie. I agree with you. I think it was because of Belgium. Secondly, okay, even if the ref didn't see it real time, at least go to VAR. That was my issue.
I don't know if VAR is gonna step in that situation, because it was called offside and it wasn't a goal that was scored, right? So is he gonna overturn the offside,
right,
and give the penalty where there is, yes, the player gets the ball? I don't know if VAR is going to be like, I don't want none of this. The ref, this is on you.
Yeah, like, no, I agree. And the assistant ref screwed up.
VAR is having to, because let's just say Tajon put the ball in the back of the net before the whistle blew. But like the problem was also with offside, the assistant ref is trained to not put his flag up, and the ref is not to blow the whistle. They let the play to go on, but the ref blew the whistle, and the assistant put his flag up. So I think VAR was probably in an awkward situation. Obviously, if it wasn't called offside, then yes, I think VAR would have gone in and looked at it. But because it was called offside and it was like blown dead right away, I think VAR was like, yeah, I don't want to, but I don't want to touch this. But why don't you touch on the third one with Richie Larea?
Oh, Richie Larea. That's a penalty. That's a penalty. That's sorry. A penalty. No matter what they're saying, he tried to make contact and he hit. That is a penalty. Yes, we know Richie Larea is the guy that's going to go in the box and drive, and I think that's part of the reason why he started. Outside of him playing, and he actually, anyways, we'll go there. But him driving into the box, I think it caught the Belgian. I think it was Tillmans again. It caught him by surprise. Like, definitely, that's a penalty. That should have gone to, at least that should have gone to VAR. That's what I'm saying. I think once again, it was, hey, this Canadian team, who are they? Belgium? No. These guys are just, and I think there's a level of that because quickly, even to go to the man of the match, KDB was like, I don't know why I got it. It's because of my name. So I think there was a lot of things leaning towards, I feel like if it flipped, like how we saw R7 get the penalty, it was
it's the same. It was the same thing.
But it's R7, so of course you're going to give him the penalty.
Yeah.
But then Richie Larea, you're not going to give him the penalty, and that's why I don't like the disparity. And apparently, there was what's his name again? I'm going to call him Colombo. What's his name? The famous Italian ref. He's now the head of the refs.
The bald guy.
The scary looking guy.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Luigi or something.
Yeah, his name just slipped me. I know his name. Like, I think he's one of the best refs that I've ever seen. But apparently they had pulled him aside during the game.
Luigi Collina?
Yeah, Collina, yeah. And he came back, and he was not, I mean, he always doesn't look happy, but apparently there was somebody that reported that he looked very angry because they pulled him aside. So I think the officiating, they're not, the one thing I must say about FIFA, it's not like the NBA or NHL where they're going to come out and saying, they're not going to come out and say blatantly that the refs screwed up. Mm-hmm. But I think they do know deep down that there were some calls that were missed.
I'll just as a side note on this, I've watched a lot of games, and there's such a bias towards all the the known quantities from the big leagues, and there's all this. I was watching the England game, and one of the announcers was talking about how positive and aggressive was it Shaw who was coming down the wing for England, like with his overlappings, and I'm like, did anyone watch Richie Larea who plays in the championship? Not even and didn't get a nod with Nottingham, who isn't performing. It bugs me because I feel like Larea had one of the best performances at that position so far this tournament, and it's just, it doesn't really matter.
I think two things need to be improved on in terms of reffing, and it's clearly exposed in this World Cup. It's consistency and transparency, right? Because you see VAR now. It's a new thing in football. There's a new technology in terms of offside lines and
the ball,
foul or not. I see a lot of times in football where you see the refs communicating with each other, and you can hear it over the feed, right? So as a fan or a person in the stadium, you can hear their decision making, because there's times during the games where you're thinking, okay, during this minute it's one foul, the next one it's not. It's like, well, why? How come? I thought it was the same thing, right? And it creates so much confusion for the players and fans. It's like, what can I get away with, and when can I, right? So honestly, right now I think the refs need to improve. I think we sort of got screwed over to start with, because that ref already had a sketchy pass behind him, and honestly, he didn't do that bad this game. So like, I can't blame him for this particular time, but I think FIFA really has to improve on those two things.
Yeah, I wonder if part of the problem is you're bringing referees from all around the world, and there's different standards all around the world. Like, how often is FIFA going to these referees beforehand and saying X, Y, and Z, this is what we're looking at you to do? Or is it just like they're throwing them out there and they're just calling it as they used to? I don't know. There's so much wrong with refereeing, both how referees are treated. I hate it. Like, for example, the Alphonso Davies penalty, and it also happened earlier today with Saudi Arabia when they were awarded a penalty from VAR. All of a sudden, the opposition players are now all of a sudden in the box. Why are they all in the box all of a sudden? Because it's not like the play was in the box and the ref gave the penalty, then everybody's like arguing in the box. Like, okay, I understand that, even though everybody should leave the box, I understand that. But like, all of a sudden, the referee's having to tell players to leave the box. Like, I don't know. That's one thing one thing with soccer/football that frustrates me. Growing up, I'm used to rugby, and in rugby, the referee is highly respected. Like, what the referee says goes. And that just doesn't happen in soccer, and that's probably got to do with how much the players are paid compared to, and the obviously rugby is a smaller sport on the global scale compared to soccer, /football. So, but there's something that, and then with regards to VAR, we don't hear the conversations that the referee is having with VAR. In rugby, that's all of that is mic'd up, so we hear what the video referee is saying. We hear what the referee is saying, and then at least then, even if they come to the wrong decision, we understand why they came to that decision. We're just left with, oh, this was a penalty, this wasn't a penalty. There's no, like, we just don't know what's going on. There's no, not to say that this is transparency, but it's just so we are aware of what they're thinking and what they're saying. That's something I would be a huge proponent of bringing to soccer. Whether that will ever happen or not, I don't know if the referees would want that, but I think it just allows the viewer to understand what's going on. Even if it's not for rugby, they can bring in the ref's mic at any time, but even if it's just during VAR reviews, just so we can understand what the heck is going on.
Right.
But let's move on to our next point. So the game went on. The game was 0-0. And then Stephen Caldwell mentioned Canada's got to make sure they get to halftime without conceding a goal. They've had such a great half. And then our defense falls asleep, and a long ball it doesn't go over the top because it bounces, then goes over the top, and Batshuayi is in behind by himself, and he just smashes the ball into the back of the net. So, and this is a common theme. So I'm going to get Robbie to touch on this, the goal that we conceded, the goal that Batshuayi scored in the 44th minute. That is
okay. Right off the bat, our defense didn't fall asleep. Steven Vittoria fell asleep.
You did, yeah.
I'm gonna call him out on it. And if Miller wasn't, like, Miller came across from his left left backside to cover for Vittoria before the ball was even sent through the middle. Okay, Vittoria should have had respect for his lack of pace and the pace and skill of Batshuayi. Right? He should have had it, and he didn't. He was trying to organize someone in front of him in midfield. I looked at the replay because I knew we'd talk about this, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, it's Vittoria. What's he doing? He totally fell asleep. He didn't have respect for his opponent. When you are the last line of defense, and any coach will tell his defender, if you think you're going to get beat for pace, you hold that high line, but you hold it and you're constantly aware of what's going on. You need to be focused. And on this stage, I think it comes down to Victoria having let that down, and then he tries to make up for it, but he can't. And God bless Miller, who had an incredible match. Everyone thinks it's his fault because he's the last one who's challenging on the ball, but the truth is he's there as backup for a huge mistake by Victoria. Now, these things are going to happen in football, and had Canada made the most of their chances, we're not talking about this.
Right.
We've seen it before, but we know Victoria's weakness, right? He, like every center back, needs to respect someone with pace all the time. It's a fine line between holding that high line, which Canada was doing impressively. Like, who would have thought they would have done that against Belgium? But Victoria, and I'll without beating a dead horse, he did not respect the pace and skill of Batshuayi, and it bit us. So the truth is, it didn't really happen that much in the game. Like, it's not like it was something that we had to keep worrying about, but it does show up here and there. And I wonder. And I kind of wonder what was happening in that moment where Victoria was trying to organize the players in front of him, because he definitely lost sight of how the play was developing, because it was pretty clear that there was a ball coming. You could see, the front players of Belgium trying to organize, getting ready for something, and Victoria just took everyone, all the players that he was holding, that line high on, were behind him. And he got duped. So,
but Robbie, I wonder, because they were also saying I need to watch the replay again, maybe a couple times. But I think he was trying to also press. I think at the time he was trying to press and get somebody else. I forgot who it was, correct, but I think he was also trying to do that high press, and it was KDB, right? Like, you have to be on, and I feel like it's a commentator jinx, because soon as he said it. Literally, I think it was like maybe 30 seconds to a minute. Boom.
Canada turned the ball over, and then
he turned the ball over, and I think it was also the turnover. And I think I think it's partial. I personally think it's Victoria and also Miller. And it's funny because I saw a clip today of Herman Manashi speaking to three of them. There's a picture. And I think that's something that, because remember, it happened in Japan. Literally, the same thing happened in the Japan game. The same thing. Yeah. And I think as much as you should also be able to cover. So we know Steven Victor is slow. I think, and I'm not trying to blame, don't get me wrong, I'm not fully blaming Miller, because it's hard. But I think maybe if he came over quicker, it might have helped. Because with him and somebody came back, and now I'm just it was somebody else that was in. It wasn't Johnston. It was, I want to say Eustachio came back. I'm trying to remember who else came back. But I feel like maybe if Miller caught that early. So I think it's a combination. Victoria didn't see that, because think about it. You're in the game, euphoric, you're pressing high, you're doing so well. You're not expecting, you should, but you're so caught up in the moment that you're not expecting KDB to do that long ball. And Batshuayi, I know a lot of people don't rate him, but when he gets his chances, he does score. Yes, does he have his deficiencies? Not with a hole up. He's that run. He's different from Lukaku. But when he gets his chances, he's going to smash it in the net. And I think that was.
But also at the end of the day, like, it's a good goal. It was fantastic. Fantastic service, great touch, good finish. It couldn't have been put in a more perfect spot. And you just have to concede that you got beat on the play. Yeah. Like, it really, like, I'm looking at it, looking for like, is there some glaring error here? Like, it's not perfect defending, but it's also really, really good movement up the field, putting a ball into space. Both forwards are like converging on the space. So they've got two options. It's just good football. And you've got to give Belgium credit there, right? I don't really think it's so much Canada's deficiency as it is Belgium's ability to just really ball when they have that moment. And like, that's quality on display, frankly.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's not a trend that continues. It's just unfortunate we considered two very similar goals. in 2 games in a row. And we know our defense's weakness is, especially with Vittoria and Miller, they're not, their agility on the turn is not the best. So once somebody gets it behind, we're in trouble because I don't think anybody's catching up. It's not like one of them is like a Mavinga. They can turn and maybe catch up. Like once, I think Miller in a straight line has got some speed, but when he has to turn around, he's not. That's not his strength at all.
No, and like and Juan, you know this because you're involved in coaching. Like if there's a long ball coming at you, one of the hardest things to do when you're turning on a long ball is when you're directly in the path of that ball. You want to be coming at it like slightly off angle, so you can keep your head on. You can still have a vision of what's happening around you. And both times, the Japan goal and the Belgium goal, Vittoria is caught like. He sees the ball, service is on its way, and he's caught dead straight on that vector. And it's like you're already at a disadvantage. Now he's a professional; he should know better. So there's something they've got to organize that back three a little better. They've improved. Like I would have to say this back three. If we took this back three like 6 months ago and put them in this situation, it might not end as well for us. So I think there's been improvement, but. You've really got to be aware of that, especially because it was De Bruyne, right? Did he not?
He was the one. The pass.
So you see De Bruyne with the ball, and you see the forwards organizing, on your high press. Like you've got to know, you've got to start fixing your position to get ready for it. And I don't think they were quite ready for that quality, frankly.
Yeah. Well, like I said, let's hope we are able to find a way of covering our weaknesses and ensure that it isn't a mistake that continues to happen in the next 2 games.
We just have to worry about Modric, or is it Perisic? That'll be easy.
So as the game went on, that was all the scoring. There was obviously the first half ended 1-0 as Batshuayi scored right at the end of the first half. In the second half, both teams, Belgium really didn't create much. Canada did create a fair few chances. Canada had an expected goals. Expected goals is not a stat I like to look in isolation. To me, it's a stat for longer term trends, but I will mention Canada had an expected goals of 2.63 compared to Belgium's 0.77. Canada had 22 shots in total compared to Belgium's 9. Canada had 3 big chances, obviously missing all 3. Belgium had 1 good chance, and they converted on it. So they were clinical, and we were not. So we now come to our expert Juan. Can you tell us why Canada wasn't clinical?
Yeah, honestly, right now it seems like when I was looking, when you mentioned expected goals, I pulled up FBref. And I was wondering why, because Jonathan David, he's in great form at Lille right now, right? And we're expecting him to put some back in the net. But when I was looking at the stats, a lot of the shots were under 10% for the XG, and it was about 14 out of the 21 we had. So, of course, because the way we played, right, we were playing such a high press. Eventually, we're going to get the ball in the attacking third. Right. So, of course, we're going to have more shooting opportunities from that. So from the 21 shots that we actually had, like only a couple of them that were really high XG. Right. So it seems like the total shots seem a little bit inflated. Right. About like a couple of them were actual good chances. Like Jonathan David had a great header in about like the 60th minute, but it went slightly left to the net. And when Kyle Larin came on, he's done great for country, but he's not even in the starting 18 for Bruges, right? So we can say, Kyle Larin's going to take some time to adjust to get some playing time. And honestly, Canada had their opportunities. It was difficult for our strikers to have a couple of chances. Even when you see like Courtois in net, it's a little intimidating. I know they're professionals and whatnot, but when you see that giant guy in net, it's very difficult. And
Yeah.
he's not only tall and physical, but he's one of the greatest goalkeepers that's currently playing now. I think he was like third or fourth in Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
So honestly, right now, Canada definitely needs to improve if we're going to continue doing the high press. I'm expecting a lot more from our wingers to have more shots on target at least. We can't rely on our strikers too much.
That's the stat that matters, in my opinion. Shots on target.
Yeah.
Yes.
Game stats. It was 3-3. Belgium.
Yeah,
3-3.
3-3. It was volume of shots.
That's
why the
looks
XG was so high.
You could take 20 shots from the center line, but it doesn't.
Yeah, we had Alistair Johnston shooting from outside the box. He's not known for his long shots. We had Richie Larea shooting from outside the box. He's not known for his long shots. We had Atiba Hutchinson shooting from outside the box. He's not known for that. A lot of Jonathan David's shots were blocked, I think.
Yeah, they were.
So that's telling me you're shooting when there's somebody in front of you. Is that, yes, sometimes that is a good idea because maybe it will go through, but sometimes it isn't. There was that one opportunity when he had Richie Larea wide open on his right-hand side, and obviously if Richie Larea isn't there, then yes, shoot. But Richie Larea was wide open. Maybe Richie Larea wouldn't have scored himself because he was kind of pretty wide, but maybe he could have fizzed in a ball or done something. For me, the biggest miss was Tajon Buchanan. Richie Larea put in an excellent ball. I do understand the ball was bobbling, but Tajon needs to get over the ball and get it on net instead of, I don't know if that ball's landed yet.
To be fair, though, he was already outstretched and he had pressure from center backs behind him. For me, the most disappointing one was the Jonathan David, because he had a slight tap on the back from either Vertonghen or Biderveld there, and he just lost balance, right? When you're running at such a fast speed, you really have to make sure your center of gravity is close, right? And one little tap, and he slightly tapped the ball to the left side of the field. And with the opportunity of Buchanan crossing as well, it seemed like they weren't as cohesive with David, because there was a time where Buchanan, he crossed from the right wing, and it was overshot, and David was doing a cut in to beat the center back, but it seemed like he had to go into the last second to retrieve the ball. So for me, Jonathan David was the most disappointing for that match in terms of opportunities taken.
Yeah. I think we'll see. I think we're going to see a bit of a change. I know I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I think we there's some reorganization and a small personnel change will help against Croatia. I know we're going to talk about it, but it's for those reasons that I think we need to do it and to adjust to Croatia. But David alone up there as a lone striker, that was a lot to ask of him against Belgium.
Yeah, naturally he's a shadow striker. He does very well with two strikers, right? Like him and who's that Turkish guy last year that played for
that played for Lille.
That's like he's like 40 years old too.
Yeah,
well, he played well, man. They
have very good, incredible link ups.
Like in my opinion, David plays better off of target man, or not necessarily it has to be a target man, but a focal point. He's adapting to being a low number 9. This is his first season playing as a low number 9 consistently. Hopefully that's something he improves on, and I think he can. It's just something I don't know at the World Cup if he's at that point right now, but we'll discuss, I think, as Robbie alluded to, we'll discuss that a little bit further on what we can do with regards to that. Another talking point from the game I want to get to is Canada's style of play. Canada, we didn't care we were playing Belgium. We were going to play the way we play. And we went full on high press, high line at times, attacking football. I know that's how we play in CONCACAF, especially against weaker teams. I was maybe expecting maybe a little bit more of a cautious approach, especially maybe in the first half. But no, John Herman went gun-ho. So I'm going to come to Paul. And Paul, do you want to give me your thoughts of, were you expecting that? And were you impressed by Canada's attitude and how they approach the game?
I'll be honest, I was shocked. Well, number one, when I saw the lineup, I was shocked that Adekube, Larea was in, Adekube didn't start, and that Davey was starting at left wing back. I figure maybe part of it was an injury, but I don't think it was fully injury. I think because of the high press, and I've said this before, I think Davies is a better player when he comes up from the back and attacks you than at the forward. So it was an excellent, but I was actually shocked. When I saw it, I was like, okay, maybe a couple minutes. They're maybe trying to do this just to rattle Belgium, and then they're going to drop back. And they continued. And then I was like, okay, maybe 10 minutes. And they continued, and they started growing. And I was like, whoa. I've seen it on CONCACAF, but I was like, yeah, that's CONCACAF, whatever. But to see it on the world stage, the first game, it was very smart. And you hear about the tactics and the amount of preparation that John Herdman. So he's been preparing for this for months, like all the teams. So whether people think Croatia, he's been doing this for months. And to see, I think what's at his disposal is this team plays like a team, so they're adaptable. They could adapt any way, shape, or form. So I thought maybe, after a while they would drop. They were pressing high. They were pressing. They continued to press. They continued to press. And that, number one, impressed me because in that heat, that takes a lot of, and I don't know if you guys have played like in scorching sun, that takes a lot of energy to actually continue to press high, to continue to run, to continue to just attack them, attack. Like every time they got the ball, there was someone there. They were playing the man. Like even that's even crazy. Like in soccer, you don't consistently do that. They were playing the man press. It was like there was only a couple times that when they lost the ball that KDB had and maybe I want to say from what I can remember, maybe there was maybe 3 or 4 times in the entire game that KDB had some opportunity, and that was if they lost the ball and they got scattered. And then when he did, someone was still pressing. I think maybe the one shot that he got to kick it over. He probably, I'll be honest with you, I don't even think when he kicked that, he probably was like, you know what? Let me take my chance and see if something's going to happen in the goal. But I think they were rattled. Even Hazard, like as much as he's not the player that he is now, he could still do his thing. Man, they were just on them. He moved from the left. He moved to the right. There was still somebody there pressing him because I think he probably thought, okay, it's only Johnson marking me. They're not going to be. He went to the right. They attacked, they pressed, went to the middle. Like it really impressed me how the energy and the level of endurance that you have to continually press. Yeah, there were times that they dropped off, but they and I know Herdman said some people reach their peak that they've never reached before. I actually believe that because me even just looking at them, I got tired. And I was like, okay, second half, they're gonna drop off. Nope. It's like they drank some BioSteel in the back and came back out and was just gunning. They continually got, and that really impressed me because to do that and to still play, yeah, there was some passes after being tired, but to play that style of football and still be able to maintain your shape, still be able to make some passes. Yeah, there's some passes that were off, as we saw, but generally overall to play at the level that they did and to play as well that they did, man, I was beyond impressed. It was one hell of a show.
Yeah, I think regardless, I think the result, obviously losing is frustrating, especially when you look at our performance, but I think it's a performance we can be proud of, but obviously we would like the result to be better.
Right.
I think this is the problem of, especially on social media, where you got to be one or the other on the extreme ends. You can't be somewhere in the middle where, yes, there's some positives and yes, there are some negatives. I find on social media, it has to be one or the other. There's no common ground somewhere in the middle. I just want to quickly go over some players that impressed, and if you guys have any to add, just mention them. I think Richie Larea was impressive. In my opinion, he was man of the match. Kamal Miller even though he was part of the goal we conceded, he did make a lot of great challenges, so Kamal Miller deserves a shout out. I think Steven Eustachio did well. He was going up against Axel Witsel and Tielemans, who are good players.
Right.
So and he showed his level. He's playing for a Champions League side and a highly respected side in Porto, and he's definitely shown that he has deserved the opportunity he has been given at Porto. Was anybody else you guys want to quickly give a shout out to?
I want to shout out, as much as he missed the goal, Buchanan, because I've always questioned, can he do this on the world stage? That 1v1 or 1v2 take on players, and that's his style. And he was running the ragged, man. He was taking on players. Juan, sorry, I know you wanted to say something.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Juan.
You could tell he was confident in the first 10 minutes, right? As soon as he received the ball, there was that aura around him where he's like, I'm definitely going to beat you and I'm going to take my time with it, right? There's times where he would receive the ball on his left, right? And you would wait till the defender had that twitch moment where he would try to take the ball and then pass through him. So it was fantastic to see Buchanan not only increase his game from the international stage, but it's crazy that these guys from League One Ontario, they were playing League One Ontario a couple of years ago, to now being drafted to the MLS, now playing in Europe, all of a sudden facing these top players in the world. And it shows that they didn't hesitate at all.
Yeah, definitely. And with Buchanan before, so usually sometimes too, when he had the ball, I felt like sometimes he would hold on. He wouldn't be decisive in what he's going to do. I think now you're seeing with him playing more with Club Brugge, playing on the international, playing in league, championship league, league champion, sorry. But now seeing that difference, you could tell you're right. He had the swagger, or he always had it, but now, you know what? He took it to a next level. And I was actually, and even his crosses before, his crosses weren't as concise as they were, but to that game, they were pretty concise. They were in the box for anyone to get it. I really loved how he played. So he did.
I mean, if we're just gonna get into all the beautiful shout outs here, I like Kone, all right. I there's a lot we can talk about Kone, but I think Kone's worth talking about in the Croatia preview, because I think you might get some time starting that game. But and this is maybe my homer take, because I am a TFC fan. It was really nice to see Osorio so confident on the ball. He made some really, really, vintage Osorio moves through midfield to create some attacking presence and put some pressure on Belgium. And I think he showed really well for what little time he had out there. I think he's a great piece off the bench, and I think he might prove more useful against Croatia with his tiki-taka style, especially in midfield. I think he can be a force off maybe even sooner. You might even see him in the 60th minute, just because of some of the miles the legs have gotten, especially after Belgium. I don't think this is going to be the same kind of game, but I think this might be Osorio's chance to shine. This is it. Osorio's going to win or impress and get a contract in Europe or not. I think with Croatia, unless there's something I'm missing with Morocco. But I think this is it. This is this could be a really big moment for him.
Yeah, I think we should move on to the Croatia preview. But before that, I think this is I like to drop a hot take every episode. This is more of a lukewarm hot take, but Kevin and Rob, Paul already touched on this, but Kevin De Bruyne getting the man of the match was an absolute disgrace. It was an absolute disgrace.
It was, yeah.
He was poor by his own standards, was poor. Yeah, there were opportunities where he could have played balls in. There was a couple of times where when we were pressing high, he was able to turn and be into space, and he had Batshuayi and Eden Hazard and Yannick Carrasco running into space, and he wasn't putting in good passes. And I know Paul already quoted him, but I'm going to give the full quote here. He said, "I don't think I played a great game. I don't know why I got the trophy. Maybe it's because of the name. I just don't think we played well enough as a team, especially in the first half. I don't think we found solutions, and that we started really bad. The momentum was with Canada. We didn't find the way to break through their press. So it was an absolute disgrace that he won the man of the match. On his own team, Batshuayi should have gotten it.
Yeah.
Courtois should have gotten it.
Mhm.
And just because you win the match doesn't mean you have to get man of the match. But I feel like it happens in all these tournaments where you win and they just pick some player. I think Richie Larea, Stephen Eustachio, and Kamal Miller, they were my 3 best players for Canada. They deserved it all over Kevin De Bruyne. Yes, he may have gotten the assist, but it was like a hopeful long ball more than anything.
Yep.
That Vittoria missed the clearance, or he didn't get to the right. He didn't get to where the ball was in time. So yeah, that was it's not even a hot take. It's a lukewarm take for today, but it was an absolute disgrace.
I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a situation where De Bruyne was he was running through the middle with the ball, and there was a 3-on-2. And
on the right-hand side.
On the right-hand side.
Yeah.
I think everybody watching
it, Yannick Carrasco, I believe.
Yeah. He was trying to pass like to the left side, and everyone watching the game, they're like, "Oh man, he's gonna make that pass to the right side. He's so open."
Yeah. I think they got rattled. I think part of it too, to be honest with you, I don't think they were fully prepared going in.
No, I think they were expecting us to sit a little bit deeper, respect them a little bit more, and give them time and space to do what they need to do. They weren't expecting that. No.
Yeah, Herdman got in their head, and to be honest with you. And sorry, side note, just off take. I hope CSA is watching. Like, you need to pay this guy whatever he wants.
Give him a blank check.
He's not. He's the least. He makes the least out of all World Cup coaches, but he still makes $665,000.
No, it's 400. No, I checked. It was 472.
Oh, really? I've got 665. As well.
Oh, you do? Yeah. I'll double check it again. I saw 472.
I think if you include all bonuses and everything else,
that probably puts it up.
Yeah.
But still,
that's no small potatoes, man.
I think what this guy has think what he's done, even from the women's to the men. Like, he's literally turned around a federation program on his own. And I'm not sorry, I'm not taking no disrespect. I'm not taking away. I know Juan, your coach. I know Chris, you're involved in League One. So I'm not taking away from the ground up, from the grassroots. I'm talking about the high level where everybody has put in the work. And then when they reach a high level, it's kind of dropped off. So it's like, okay, what work are we putting in when they reach up there?
Well, I've got this saying. We should leave it at this. I got the same with my friends. I mean, I'm lactose intolerant, but that guy's dairy, and I'll drink that all day. Legendary. Yeah. All right, and that's it. Like, he's just pay the man, but he's under contract till 2026. Like,
somebody offers the CSA $10 and they'll say, okay, you can take him.
They might. I don't know though.
I don't even know how that works with international managers, to be honest.
I think they're saying, I think I saw something where they're saying he's up for, so I don't know. Yes, he's supposed to be under contract, but
maybe there's an exit clause.
They're going to have to look at renegotiating. There's no way you could pay him this amount for what he's done for this program. Like, there's just no way. I agree with you. I'm lactose intolerant, and I would drink milk.
I'm lactose.
Everyone here is lactose intolerant.
All right.
But I would drink the milk.
Dairy.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tweet that out.
I'll be honest.
For absolutely no reason.
I wouldn't mind. Like, if he moved on to bigger and better things, it is what it is. I'll be honest. Like, if Southgate were to get the sack, he won't be, because this is not how the English FA works, but he should be in consideration for that job, but he won't be. But if he were to move on to bigger and better things, it is what it is. It's like when our players leave our clubs. I don't know. It's just, who are we going to have lined up to replace them? I have no idea.
Right. I think the rumor is Thomas Tuchel is looking to, if Southgate gets gone, that he wants to replace him. But I agree. Herdman, selfishly, I want him to stay. But if he does get bigger and better, I would be happy for him. But man, if they could even make it the president of like, I don't know, whatever. Give him the farm.
Happen.
Give him the farm. This guy has definitely
make him general secretary and head coach. But yeah,
sorry that I brought that. I know that
no. But you know what? While we're on Herdman, that's a good transition. Let's switch up. That's a good transition because we're going to touch on Herdman on the other side. But let's switch up our the topic and move on to our next one. So the next topic is Canada versus Croatia preview. And this is something I've added last minute because it's a hot talking point at the moment, and it is related to John Herdman, is his comments with regards to Croatia, where I can quote what he said. He said, "We're going to F up Croatia." That's the goal of the team. Basically meaning the goal is to beat them. Unfortunately, I did not know that Croatians were so sensitive to language, I guess, but they did not react to it very well. Obviously, there was that the newspaper picture that made the rounds on social media where John Herdman is essentially naked with a maple leaf covering his privates and his mouth, and they said, "You've got the big mouth, but do you have the big balls?" I believe is kind of what they were saying. I was kind of shocked that this was like so negatively received, both in Croatia and also in Canada. In Canada. Like on TSN, they were spent like 10 minutes ripping into Herdman. Like if it was a mistake, it was a mistake. But in my opinion, I've never seen Herdman make such a mistake before. I think he's backtracking because of how it was received.
Right.
Yes. But in my opinion, he studied the school of Jose Mourinho and did a Jose Mourinho and made it all about him to deflect on the team, because this game against Croatia, in my opinion, is we have to get a result. Or, like, in my opinion, we have to win to keep it within our own control. We have to win this game. We just had Alphonso Davies missing a penalty, and that could have been blown up out of proportion as well. I don't think I've seen too much of a negative feedback on social media regarding the missed penalty. I was maybe, you know how there's always the racists and the people that attack the players after they make a mistake. So I think John Herdman was smart and tried to make it about him.
Yeah.
I know TSN was saying that it's going to motivate Croatia. Croatia doesn't need more motivating. They got a draw after their first game. They have to beat Canada. Like, it's not like they were going into the game thinking, oh, a draw is acceptable. They were coming in to kick our butts anyways.
This doesn't matter to anybody else except the media. Dudes like us talking on our armchairs. Like, it does not matter.
No.
Okay. There's these guys, first of all, players, coaches, they're not paying attention to the media. They don't care. Mm-hmm. They don't care. Whatever the other team says makes no difference. They're just studying game tape and looking at tactics. That's it. It doesn't matter what's said here. In fact, it just matters to a bunch of fanatics, and it's a great talking point because who says that? I made for great TV. And frankly, if it motivated the guys, maybe, listen, they've been on one hell of a ride. That was an inspiring performance. And I think Herdman was just caught up in the moment. I actually don't think it was something he actually meant to do. There was no intention. I think he was just being brutally honest about what he said inside the team scrum at the end of the game. But like I said, this means absolutely nothing to nobody except media and fans like us who are talking about it, because it's quite interesting. At the end of the day, like, Croatia's coming out to win, and so is Canada, and it won't make a difference.
Yeah, which I found quite interesting, because there was a few things. Number one, you're literally asking him after he came out the huddle. I think subconsciously, I agree with Chris with the school of Marino. I think subconsciously it's in the back. I don't think maybe consciously he did, but subconsciously he studied the school. Like if you see Herdman, tactics, all that, like he's psychology is his thing. He also knows of ways to push the buttons and to motivate people. But I also agree he did do that in the huddle to motivate them. And taking that, I'm gonna F you up, could have been, we're gonna beat them. I think they took that word and really obviously the media.
Yeah,
so you're asking him right after. And it's something that Andy Petula said, which is, well, we want people to be honest. So media want the people to be honest. You ask him a question, he's honest. Then TSN, and sorry, I need to say this, and then TSN is jumping Stephen Caldwell, which I think there is something underlying because he was the assistant coach and he's no longer the assistant coach. So I feel like there's something else. I think there's something there, and I'm obviously I'm not trying to go there, but I think there's something there because just the way he spoke about it, it was quite interesting to me. Where he's like, "Oh, this is such a big mistake, and it's going to motivate Croatia." As you said, Robbie and Chris, they don't need no extra. Like if this is motivating them, then something definitely is wrong. Now, of course, it's going to be a bigger thing because now the media is going to ask the coach and the coach for Croatia, "Oh, that's disrespectful." No, it's not disrespectful. When you go to war playing sports, as Robbie,
they saying the same thing in their locker room about us. They say we're gonna go F up Canada. Like I don't know why it's such a big thing.
I don't know why it's such a big thing. And so Garrett Wheeler, as much as there's some takes that I don't, he actually he said something good on one talk. He's like, guys, we're blowing this out of proportion. We're taking the word F. How do we taking that to be something else?
He didn't even say the word. He said F.
Listen, what he really meant was we're going to friend them.
Yeah,
it had everything to do with social media.
Frustrate them.
We know this. Come on,
and it's a different. And you know what? For those that maybe watch some NBA, it's not the same. And Garrett Wheeler actually said it's not the same as when Masai actually said it in Brooklyn, where he's like F Brooklyn. He wasn't saying, you know what, F Croatia. He wasn't saying that. He's saying we are going
referring to the players.
Yeah, right. He used it, and I noticed somewhere. I mean, I don't swear, but he was using it more as a verb and not as something directed them. So for them to take that and all the media, and then as much I respect KJ, but I thought also KJ too. I was just like, KJ, you're saying this. I'm like, guys, it's not that deep.
No, it's not. Go ahead, Juan.
Thank you. So yeah, I think it's interesting because I think John Herman's playing 40 chess with everybody in the group. When we first started playing our match against Belgium, they had a press conference media session the day before, and he was about 20 minutes late before that. And they had comments saying, "Oh, this is really unprofessional. Is this one of his mental tactics?" And it seems like, John Herman is really like clutching the underdog attitude. They're like, yeah, nobody expected us to be here. Nobody ever thought we would do well against Belgium. But you know what? Screw everybody. We're going to you're either with us or you're against us. And honestly, with Croatia right now, there was a little bit of bad blood before the comments made because our goalkeeper, Borjan, he's Serbian, right? And then there's a huge political conflict between Croatia and Serbia. So it seemed like John Herdman had that in mind already. Plus, with the Davies miss and the lackluster performance of our strikers, he knew that he had to take not blame, but he had to take the heat for the group. So he's like, you know what, I'm going to do this for the group, and I'm going to speak my mind. And he's sick and tired of the Canadian stereotype where we're all nice and we're
saying
all
sorry because he didn't say sorry.
No, he's like, I bet you if he didn't get questioned, he'll double down.
Yeah. Well, he said he would have liked to have not have said it, but
he said that today.
But he's only doing that to the reaction, especially
today. Yesterday he didn't do that. He doubled down. Well, didn't double down, but he said, I'm not. He didn't say. All he said is
he just explained it. He explained what he said.
But today was when he said, okay, maybe I shouldn't. And I'm just like.
But I know we're having like a 10-minute segment here on it. So I'm not like me judging TSM, but we're not criticizing what he said. We're reacting to the reaction, which I think was way overblown. Like, I don't know. I guess this is because I'm South African. I'm just used to like some of the press conferences I've seen with regards to local teams, like they have like fist fights between the teams. So like,
I mean,
to
he's
me,
also
this
a
is nothing.
Geordie. He's a Geordie too. We should be grateful.
Yeah.
That's all he
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, no, he even censored himself. Like, I don't know. It was way overblown.
To be fair, though, what Croatia tweeted out about Gord Downey and the tragically hip, I don't know if that
was it a real though?
I don't know. I don't know if it was real.
Somebody told me it was fake.
What?
Like,
Hold on a second. I've
Luka
been living on
Modric said, apparently Luka Modric said there's a reason why the tragically hip has not like grown out of Canada, and that's because they're not really good.
Right.
Well, how the heck would he even know
Exactly.
that?
I think
they're
it's
not
fake.
even relevant anymore. Like, no
think-
offense, but they're from before.
I don't think Modric said it. I think the social media intern or whoever runs that account is like just playing off
Maybe.
and it's like, oh, this is what Modric would say, so I'm just gonna post tweet and go off of it. It's funny though.
Yeah.
Whatever. They listen to Deadmau5, I guarantee you. So.
Hey, Deadmau5 slap. I can't lie.
Right. So that's Canadian content. So whatever. Deal with it.
Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about on the field stuff. Let's focus in on Croatia and discuss their strengths and weaknesses. I'll come to you, Juan, first. You want to give us a strength or weakness that you see in this Croatia team?
Yeah, so with Croatian team right now, they're obviously one of the older teams in the World Cup, but they're still one of the most technical in my opinion. I was looking through the touch map throughout the last game in Morocco, and they played a lot through the middle. I think it would be important for us to play a 3 in the middle for us to cover Modric, Brozovic, and I'm forgetting
Kovacic.
Kosovic, yeah.
Don't forget him.
No, my apologies. Honestly, right now, I think we should still have the same tactics against Croatia because Croatia, they have the same kind of profile as Belgium. They don't have the speedy wingers, but they are very technical. They will have a tall striker, so we'll have to check for those crosses.
Yeah.
I think our defenders are definitely going to have to make sure they win the first 50-50s. And I'm excited. Honestly, I think Croatia is going to be a good test. It's a winner go home situation. And I know the boys will be up for it. They're going to we're just going to play our game. We're going to change things a little bit tactically. And Croatia is one of the top teams in the world. I mean, they went to 2018 final, but 2018 was 4 years ago, right? It's a huge change.
Yeah. And they don't even have some of the players they had then. Some of the players have retired. Like Vida.
The only concern, though, is that center back that plays in the Bundesliga. He's
Gvardiol.
Gvardiol. Very good center back. Speedy, right? So
Target Lovren.
They've got 2 new young center backs. They're going to be able to play a little higher and take a lot of pressure off those talented midfielders, right? I think and I think that's why we might benefit from a Larin David combo, just to keep those guys honest up the pitch. I think we might benefit from a bit of a change, bringing in Larin and Kone for this game, and pulling out Hoylett and Larea. Larea got a bunch of miles, so he'd be a nice addition later on in the game for some punch. But I think with Larin up top with David, you keep those guys honest, and then obviously your midfield 3, and then Davies and Buchanan as our wing backs. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I agree with Juan. Their midfield is the thing we have to control. Modric, Brozovic, and Kovacic. You could say it's the best midfield trio at this World Cup, or at least top 3. It's excellent. What is behind them? Obviously, you got Gvardiol, who's coming up. You got Lovren, who's in the same situation as Alderweireld and Vertonghen. Although I don't think he was ever as good as them, but he's in the twilight of his career. Up top, they don't have much speed up top. Vlasic, Kramaric, and Perisic are not known for their speed, but Perisic, we all know what he offers. He will get up and down the left-hand side. He will whip in some good balls. He is a threat with the long shot. Kramaric, obviously, as one touched on, his aerial ability is going to be a threat. We're going to need Vittoria to be on him because we do know, depending on how we play, if we play a back three, Johnston and Miller are not the greatest aerially. No. So we're going to need Vittoria to make sure he stays on him. But yeah, like I think if you can control the midfield, that alleviate as best as you can, that will alleviate a lot of the pressure from this team. I think Perisic, Kramaric, and Vlasic up top. I think we can. Like I'm not too concerned as long as we keep that midfield quiet. But as Robbie alluded, talking about a bit of a starting 11, I was looking to find a website that's great at making starting 11s. I couldn't find any. All of the good ones are apps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down the team that we create, and then I'll do it on the app I have, and then I'll tweet it out afterwards. I was hoping to do it on screen, but I couldn't find anything that was good quality, to be honest. But let's make a group team prediction for tomorrow's game. I think we should play. I know it's maybe a little bit controversial because we haven't played it very often, is the 4-3-3. But I'll come to you first, Juan. What formation do you think we should play?
I think we should either play a 3-5-2 or a 3-5-2-1. I think a 3-5-2 will be sufficient enough. So you'll have the three in the midfield covering each person, not necessarily man marking, but in terms of zonal marking, We'll also have Davies on the left with Buchanan on the right, playing as that wing back role. Mm-hmm. We'll have Larin and David starting up top. And for the three midfielders, I have Eustachio and Kone, but I'm sort of torn for the last spot for either Hutchinson or Osorio, because Hutchinson has the experience. He's been all across Central Europe, and he knows how to cover these. He knows how to cover players with that caliber. But then Osorio is much more younger. He's able to control the midfield much more better. So I wrote down Hutchinson, but for me, it's either a coin flip for Hutchinson or Osorio.
So does anybody strongly disagree with what Juan said with regard, to me, I think Hutchinson has to start just because he's the best natural six that we have. Mm-hmm. And I don't want Eustachio to have to be forced to do that grunt work. In my opinion, it would be between Kone and Osorio. I'm fine with either or. I personally would like to go with the more experience in Osorio. But Kone, I doubted him at the beginning of the year. I'm not going to doubt him anymore. If he starts, I'm sure he'll do amazing as well. The only other thing I'm concerned of is Davies. I do think we have to play three in midfield. The reason why I said 4-3-3 is that it would then allow you to play Davies and Buchanan further forward. But then we run into the issue of, as Robbie alluded to earlier, where that means David is up top on his own. And do we want that, especially after this last game? I think when you look at the Japan game and then you look at the Belgium game, David looks so much better when he was able to drop deep, get involved in the play, drift wide, and he had the focal point of Larin up top. Like I said earlier, I don't think right now he's at his best when he's the focal point. Yes, I understand he's doing well in League One right now, but that's League One. League One, yes, it is a top 5 league, but it is very much the fifth of the top 5 in my opinion. Especially if you remove PSG from the equation,
right?
And then also with his club team, he's able to form a lot more familiarity. Players know that David is going to drop deep here. We know we need to move into these attacking places, especially with Timothy Weah, who is also has been like a false forward at times, inside forward. I don't think either Buchanan or Davies are inside forwards. They're very much wingers that do like to cut in, but they're very much wingers. So I think I agree there with Juan with the 3-5-2. But then I do worry about having both Davies and Buchanan as the wing backs. No, there we go.
There you go, beauty.
My concern.
Go ahead, Paul.
Sorry, Chris. No, go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
No. I finished up.
Oh, okay. I hear the 3-5-2, and it makes sense. Mm-hmm. My concern is that midfield Croatia, man. The midfield, and I know the midfield and Perisic. My concern is, do we see the same thing that happened? I would probably prefer having 4 at the back. Now I know somebody's going to lose out, but I'd rather have Adekugbe. I'd rather a back 4 just to make up in case Kamal gets turned, that turn. I don't know. I'm thinking it through, and I'm so glad I'm not Herdman, because you need to actually get that tactic right.
I think we can. No, go ahead. Sorry.
So I'm just wondering, do you play 4 at the back instead of 3? Because we've seen 2 cases where we're playing. I mean, we always play 3 at the back, but we've seen at the international level, twice we've done it now, Japan and Belgium, where we got beaten at the top. Does it help if we have Adekugbe and Johnson playing left back, right back, Kamal Miller and Victoria in the middle to kind of help? Does it kind of help them? And does it make Kamal more stick in? So instead of the last time where he had to run all the way in the middle, it more helps him in the middle, and Adekugbe could force because Davies at the left back, and we saw the last game, he's not 100%. He's not, because there was a play where he had to run back, and he caught him, but it seemed like a struggle for him to get back. And I could see that happening, and that's my concern with playing him at the left wing back in a 3-5-2. And that's the only reason why. Outside, it makes sense, but just because of the personnel and him not being healthy, that's my concern.
Yeah, I like the 3-5-2. I think the outside players on Croatia, I think they're really good going forward, but not when there's pressure coming wide at them. And I think that if Canada takes that away, I think it might put us in an even deeper hole. So I think you can match up. I think it's one of the two, right? It's you match them player for player. You go 4-3-3. Or 3-4-3, right? You really try and block that up, but then you're not really playing your game, or you just go out and you do what you're good at, which is probably the best thing to do, because when things get tough and you're not playing and you've now adjusted to your opponent, it's really hard to turn that around, especially against a team like Croatia. So why not just do what's made you successful? We have the personnel to still make that the 5-3-2 work anyway, right?
I think like what Paul said, a 4 at the back is more conservative. It will help our defenders a lot. But like what John Herman said, we played well. And for us to continue pressing up high, having a 4 at the back is going to create 2 center backs at back, and they'll be a lot more exposed. So it's sort of like you're going to be reinventing the wheel a bit if you're playing a 4, because if you're pressing up high, you got to make sure you got to have 3. You know, if the ball's going on the left wing, your left center back will cover, and if the ball goes on the right wing, your right center back will cover for it.
Right.
So it's sort of like logically, yes, the 4 will make sense, but you sort of have to go off the performance off Belgium as well.
Yeah.
But do they have the capacity? My only thing is, do they have the capacity? Because even Herman was saying, they've reached their peak. So do they have the capacity to go back to play the high press? And remember too, Belgium had a lot of opportunity. KDB had a lot of opportunities in that high press. Yeah, and if he had just had one more person like Tillman, like somebody
now we're going to be giving that to Modric.
Right. You get Modric, and then you have Kovacic. Because remember, I watched him at Chelsea.
Yeah, Kovacic, his strength is progressing the ball while he's on the ball.
Absolutely.
That is his strength.
And the goals that he scored, so that's also my concern too. But I hear it, so that's what I'm saying. I'll be honest with you, it's really hard to kind of decide, because the 3-5-2 does make sense. But my concern is this midfield is a next level, and that high press that we did. Yeah, we rattled Belgium, but now Croatia has seen this. So now they have time to be like, okay, that high press, we know how to come out that high press. And they will if we don't play that for 90 minutes plus, they will murder us in the midfield.
Okay.
So I
also
3-5-2. I hear
play,
it.
Yeah. If we play the 3-5-2, I wonder if it's a smart idea, like I said, to play both Davies and Buchanan as the wing backs. I would have Larea in there, but then that most likely means that you're taking Tejan off and he's a super sub. Larea did get subbed off, I think, in the 60th minute.
He was cramping. He was
cramping. But so was Tejan. And people were saying he looked injured towards the end.
Right.
He was struggling to move around. So I guess maybe one of them's going to be a super. I think I don't know. It depends on how attacking you want to be from the offset. Do you want to start Larea and then if things go badly, you have Tejan to come off the bench, or do you want to start Tejan and if things go well, then you can always take Tejan off and then bring Larea on to bring on some stability. It all depends on how we want to start. And I guess going off how we started the last game, we're going to go guns-ho. But I do have my concerns, but I think we've touched on all the players that could be starting. It's Boyan definitely in net. It's going to be Miller, Vittoria, Johnston, all definitely starting. I think then you've got Davies, Buchanan, maybe Adekubi, maybe Larea. In the midfield, we're looking at.
We didn't talk about Hoylett. Imagine that.
Hoylett, yeah. I think Hoylett. I don't know if this is a game for him because I think we need the three midfielders as an actual midfielders. But then against Morocco, he comes back in where we can afford because when he plays in midfield, he really is a number 10. Although I know Osorio plays the 10, but I trust Osorio defensively so much that I even trust him in a 6 if he needs to be there. So,
but don't be surprised because Hoylett has been playing the wing back role. For Reading. And we don't know. Herdman does some as I said, that first game, I didn't think Larea was going to start. And Herdman was like, no, he's starting.
Yeah, I know. That was the big shock to me. I wouldn't say it's a big shock because to me, Larea is in that. We have this like starting 15, 16 players. He's in there. So anybody can out of those players start. But I think I was more shocked that Adekubi wasn't playing.
Right.
Because Adekubi it's been really consistent for Canada. And he seemed to have that like left wing back spot was his. But I think obviously they wanted to move Davies back. So then he was the sacrificial lamb.
Is there other players you guys are considering that might squeak into the lineup? Like I'm looking at the roster and I'm thinking, does Ike Ugbo might have a chance? Or Samuel Piet?
No, it's not.
Samuel Piet.
Samuel Piet is. We discussed this on previous.
He's a closer.
He's a person you bring on when we got the lead, and
like a big
Atiba is gassed, and you bring him on to just. As we discussed in the previous episode, I think Piet has discovered his level. He's effective in CONCACAF. But beyond that, and I understand he has improved his ability on the ball and his technical ability, but it's still very limited at this level. But yeah, I don't know I don't think at Piet, unless it's worst case is that I don't know. I don't want to see Piet starting, to be honest. I think he would get exposed. I don't know if he can keep up with Modric, Kovacic, and Brozovic for an extended period of time. Yes, he is an effective destroyer, but you got to do more than that. And Canada looks to do more than that, right? We're not looking to park the bus and give Croatia 65% of the ball. We're going to look to get on the ball and do something. And then Piet gets found out, in my opinion.
And that's unfortunate. And that's unfortunate because, to be honest with you, if he was better on the ball, he would be like, I would put 3 of them to start. Like I'm saying, if he was much better than what he was, I would have felt confident.
Free up Atiba,
free up Hutchinson and Estacio to give Estacio that. Because remember, he could play Estacio could play the 6, the 8, the 10. Like I would have rathered that and kind of free up Atiba to maybe even drop back a little more just in case. But here we are. we're starting his rise as Robbie. We're starting Kone, most likely.
Yeah.
And that to me is like, yeah, man, I wish you, because still Kone is not as good defensively. He's getting better.
I'm concerned about him defensively. Like, I was comparing him and Osorio defensively in MLS last season, and it's not even close. Like, it's night and day. Like, offensively, they're very similar, but not like defensively, it's night and day. And obviously, like, it's Kone's first year, and how he was at the beginning compared to how he was at the end is different. But unfortunately, when you're looking at stats as a whole, it takes everything into account. But like, I have my concerns about him defensively, but there's so much upside to him offensively, and he's very different. He's very different to Osorio. Like Robbie was saying earlier, Osorio is a very tiki-taka player. He's not looking to distribute the ball long. He's looking for those quick 5-yard passes, pass and move, dummy runs, being an option.
So good.
He's very different to Kone. He wants to get on the ball and distribute it, especially when Kone plays deep. I find he wants to get on the ball and distribute it with long passes and switches of play. That's not really what Osorio is for. They're very different players. So I guess it will depend on what we're needing in the team. I think that's why it made more sense to bring Kone on for Atiba, because I think that maybe he more represents what Atiba is with regards to his passing. But when you're playing Atiba and Eustáquio already, and you're adding somebody, it'll be interesting to see who starts. But I don't know about Ugbo. I think long term, I would like next year, I want to see Ugbo and David start. But I don't think we can do that at this point. It's
fair.
If we get the worst case scenario, if we are officially eliminated after this game tomorrow, which I don't want to be the case, but let's just say it can happen, right? It can happen. Then maybe we do that against Morocco. Let's see what it does.
I agree.
Because I have my concerns with Laren. One, I don't even know if to me, Laren is very similar to David, but just because he has more experience, he's able to be the focal point a little bit better. But even Laren isn't your traditional number 9. Even when he went to Besiktas, they like to play him on the left. He wasn't really the number 9. Right. But for Canada, we have used him as the focal point, and he's more experienced. But long term, I think Ugbo would be a more natural fit to play alongside of David, just because Ugbo is the hold-up man, the man that wants to get him behind. He don't want to come deep. He don't want to get on the ball. He's not about that life.
True number 9.
He's a true old school number 9.
Yeah. Can I ask y'all something? And this is like a hypothetical scenario. So, okay, it's the 65th minute and it's 0-0, right? We win a penalty. And if you are John Herdman, would you have a discussion with Davies and be like, you're still taking my penalties because you're my guy? Or do you say you have to take a step aside, do it for the team, and have Jonathan David take with it? Because it's a little tricky situation now. It's like, do we continue giving it to the guy who gave his all to the program, saying, like, this guy's our superstar, he's the one that brought us here? Or do we give it to the guy that's more everybody collectively agreeing this guy's more of the guy that makes sense to take it, right? And now you're going to create a little bit of a friction there, and it's difficult with the brotherhood. So if you guys are John Herdman, who would you want to take for the penalty?
I'll go last because I got this is where my hot take comes in, because my other hot take was a lukewarm take. So you guys go ahead.
Are you gonna say Milan Borja?
No, okay. No. Close, but no.
If Cavallini's on, he should take it.
Imagine he doesn't.
And then look at the camera and go like,
dude. Honestly, if I was Lucas Cavallini, I would definitely do another Panenka. 100%. No way they're guessing that. There's just no way.
Stephen Caldwell's head would explode.
I know it. I would. So I'm going to go left field. Someone that has been taking penalties, and I guess some people might be aware that hasn't. I think he's probably scored all, or at least missed one. Is Steven Victoria.
You stole my thunder, Paul.
What?
You stole my hot take.
I'm so sorry.
That's
So
okay.
sorry.
Nah,
Great
that's not
minds think
toxic.
alike. Great
No.
minds think alike.
He in his career, he is 13 from 15.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Stephen Victoria, man.
And what I like about him, he's no nonsense. He blasts it into the back of the net. He just
Right.
thumps it.
I don't like that though. I don't like that though.
No, I like it because think about it. When there's a technique, because even when Buchanan, if you go back and you notice one, and all you guys who play soccer, there was a Buchanan shot that went over, he was leaning back. And
Yeah.
you cannot, anytime you lean back, you're guaranteed that your shot's going to go over. So I think Steve Victoria has been able to master to know when I'm blasting in the net, I'm not leaning back because it's going over. I like the blast in the net. No nonsense. Just get it back in the net. Even if the goalie knows where it's going, he's definitely not going to save it. Jonathan David is a bit of that, but it also has a bit of finesse.
But then
go.
If you pick Cavallini, you get a little bit of both because he also blasts it. But
you never know what you're gonna get from him.
Also, Panenka.
That's true. Yeah. Cavallini, you don't know.
But not down the middle. That's too simple. Yeah. It's got to be Panenka kind of to the side.
Right.
It wasn't a great Panenka.
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be quite interesting because I don't know if they're going to start Kone as you guys are speaking. I feel like Ozo, if they're going to go with a 3 midfield, they're going to start. I feel like it's going to be Ozo and Kone is going to come on. I think still they don't want to rush Kone as yet. And we know Ozo has more experience, very intelligent. I think it could be more him or the curveball. We don't know because Herdman always comes with the curveball. But I think I agree with you guys. I think there might be 2 strikers. And then Laren, as we know, is going to drift off throughout the game. Mm-hmm. And definitely they're going to pull him off and probably go with the 3 up top. He's going to change the formation.
Mm-hmm. I guess it all depends. He may, if we got the lead late on, Cavallini, just to
bully,
just to do what he does, and that's just to cause chaos. I like Cavallini as a leg sub. I like his energy. Like, to me, what he did against Japan showed me exactly what he's good at. It's causing chaos, showing a lot of energy, which, let's be honest, Laren at times he doesn't do that. Yeah. Like, he will disappear, and I think that's one of his biggest flaws, and that's why he's such a streaky player. And that's probably why he's struggling with Club Brugge, because he's not like Laren coming on. Like, he was okay as a sub. He had some opportunities, but like, because of how he plays, like, and you're not sure what you're going to get out of him. And he's somebody who he's in it 1 minute, he's out of it. Like, as a sub, he's not really that effective, in my opinion, especially compared to Cavallini, because if Cavallini comes on, you know what you're going to get. Yes, it may not be perfect, but you know you're getting a lot of energy, you're getting a lot of running, a lot of physical play. He's going to irritate the opposition. And I know people say he's at risk of getting cards and whatever, but if he's coming on as a sub, like, what's the chances of him getting 2 yellow cards? Like, and I hopefully not, but he doesn't lose his head and gets a straight red at this level, hopefully. But
I can picture it because Croatia is already pissed as they are. So imagine.
Yeah, no, but it could be the other way around. Maybe he comes on and he like tells them, and we're winning late on. He's like, yeah, you see what our coach said? We effed you up. We effed you up. Yeah. And then he may use that word and go a little bit more personal with regards to that word, and then maybe some Croatian isn't gonna like it. So
I'm hoping if someone scores tomorrow, they do like, the Stephen Marbury celebration where he's like holding the cojones.
Oh
yeah, like someone scores.
This one.
That one.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Half a part of me hopes that like one of them is wearing like a, like that leaf underneath, just covering their junk, and the shorts come down. I don't care.
That might be a red card.
Oh, absolutely! I would love that red card.
The police would come onto the field and escort the player stage left.
Yeah.
It's not even a red card. It's just arrested on the field. Indecent exposure. You're gone.
Yeah.
You're gone. You
better not be a rainbow leaf. Qatar is just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, maple leaf on the front, rainbow on the back. Okay. Well, Well, I'll be honest, boys. I think now that we're degenerating into a little bit of chaos, it's a good place to wrap this up. I want to thank my co-hosts Paul, Juan, and Robbie for joining me this evening. I think we all had a great time chatting footy, and we just do it while making content. It's just regular guy, girl, however anybody identifies conversation. I would like some people who don't identify as males to join us at some point, but hopefully I can find some people who are interested, just to be more diverse. I'd like to get different other people's opinions. But anyways, that's a discussion for another day. Everybody's socials are below in the description. Everybody's Twitter links, as well as Juan's Twitch link. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, and give your thoughts, opinions, and feedback in the comment section below. It all is greatly appreciated. Thank you for joining us on Canadian Footy Fan Channel. I have been your host, Chris, today. This has been episode 3 of Canadian Footy Assembly, and we are signing out.
Signing out. Peace.
See you guys.
Peace.